kids and parents are screaming for content about like, help my kids learn how to make friends. But there's not a ton of content about how to treat friends. How do you maintain friendships? There's a lot of like, hey, this is how you introduce yourself. This is how you break the ice. But how do you actually maintain friendships? What people will need to thrive in the economy. And those skills are going to be tied to things like character, things like work ethic, things like emotional intelligence, being able to read the room and manage your own emotions and then communicate and work with others. And then social awareness, your ability to connect, relationship management. Those are going to be, we call them soft skills. I love what the Indiana Department of Education calls them, durable skills. They're durable skills that will be the foundation for how people get hired and stay hired and get promoted. And those are the things ultimately that most entrepreneurs have thrived in. Welcome to the 5-Star Life Show. I am your host, Coach Seth, and I'm joined in studio with my incredible co-host, Coach Mia.
Hello, Seth.
And if you just tuned in, thank you for tuning into 5-Star Life. If you didn't know this, you can actually listen to this anywhere that podcasts are streamed. You can also watch it. So if you're just listening to it on radio, you can actually watch it. We have a podcast form on YouTube at the 5-Star Life, or we have a new program partner channel called Your Home TV. Go to yourhometv.com, and both on YouTube and on all the places you can stream podcasts. You can watch all the archives, listen to all the archives, whatever you like. It's there for you if you're a visual learner like me.
Awesome.
But we're on a mission to transform students' lives by challenging the way they think, the way they act, and the way they lead, while equipping them with the academic, athletic, social, and employability skills that these kids need to thrive. And that's a mouthful, but that's what we've been doing for 20 years. And it's making a difference. You can go to 5starlife.org to learn more, but this show, this program, we always shine a spotlight on certain parts of this mission because it started 20 years ago. We had one program working with kids in after-school programs. And that really came from this whole dropout epidemic. So many kids are dropping out, and they're dropping out because they were slipping through the cracks in middle school. They'd start to believe that they're slow, that they can't learn, form the wrong relationships, get behind academically. And so we began to work with them academically, and we watched over 80% of those kids raise their GPA. And it just began to build. We created a curriculum to really get into their mindset, to look at their character, and to help them form a positive identity. And it led from an after-school program to principals saying, how do we take this curriculum and infuse it for all the kids in our school during the school day? And 5-Star Life Video Curriculum was born, and that began to grow. And then we got invited into detention centers, working with kids in the court systems. Then we got into 5-Star Sports, and then we acquired just about a 400-acre innovative learning campus where now we're working with kids during the school day who are bused onto our campus for 6 weeks at a time each semester. And these kids are growing, learning the old-fashioned way. They learn by seeing and doing blacksmithing, woodworking, agriculture, equine, just so many different amazing things. So again, you can learn more at 5-Star Life, but that's the mission of who we are, what we do. And what we do on this show is we want to share a little bit with you about the things that create a 5-star life. So it's a great show for parents and grandparents and business leaders and people that are around kids, because you can have a great influence and great impact on them by first starting with yourself.
Absolutely. So I had the opportunity to be out at our campus, our 450-acre campus today, and watch innovative learning. I don't usually get to do that. And it was amazing. I'm in the operation, so I don't get to see the kids all the time. And it's not that I forget what we do, but when you're out there, you're like, holy crud, we are doing it. There was amazing teachers out there today, amazing kids. And it's such a breath of fresh air to see that. Because you know what? All you hear is about the negativity.
Right.
Education is, in the pits, and kids are, on and on and on. But man, to hear the teachers, believe his name is Mr. Wallace, just saying like he said this is the perfect way to end the year. He said it is just a breath of fresh air, in the week, knowing that we're coming out here. He's like, the kids love it, and they were all great. Then no one was acting out because they were waiting to do the activity. So it was fun.
Yeah, it's interesting because it took us a while. We acquired this property, just about 12 years ago, and it took us about 6 years just to get school districts to come to the table, just to have conversations about how to leverage and utilize this facility and to take advantage of it. And then it took us another 3 years to really get to a point where they're like, okay, we're ready to do this. And so, because, it's interesting how we get stuck in cycles. All of us live in and out of a cycle. We're always in a cycle, whether it's our relationship with our kids or our spouse or with the people we work with. We all live within this little environment because our brain, it needs continuity. And so we learn these habits, these traits that work for us, whether they're working or not. We learn to be dysfunctional. And education is an ecosystem that it was created for a whole different era, a whole different stream of industry and jobs. And now most of those jobs are gone, and we still have the same infrastructure. And we wonder why the dropout rate is high. We wonder why even the kids that do graduate, by the time we get to high school, kids are bored out of their flipping minds, right? They're so over it. And it's because they're asking the question that we don't want them to ask. Why does this matter? Right? We want kids to think critically, except when it comes to education. Like, well, why didn't you learn this? And we as adults have a hard time answering those questions. And what 5 Star Life Innovative Learning is doing is it's giving them a different way to learn. And there's a direct answer to the why. And they don't even need to really ask it because they can see the why. It's connected to their learning. They can see how this plays out. And then they can latch on to how this could be something that they enjoy doing for a career. So it's super exciting because education is changing. And we live in a great state. So we're in Indiana right now. I know there's people in Michigan and Indiana and all over the country listening. But in Indiana, we happen to have a Department of Education who is really, really bold at saying it's time to change. And we're going to put our priority on making sure kids have opportunities to learn in diverse environments that actually, one, aligns with what research says works, and 2, aligns with industries and standards and things that are actually going to make them money.
Would you say, when kids can't thrive in school, that is it most of the time that they just don't learn, they learn differently and they're being shoved in this box, and being taught to learn a certain way, that if they were given that opportunity to get outside the box, that they could thrive in school?
Absolutely. We see it all the time with innovative learning. Unfortunately, for years, and there's amazing teachers that have always found a way to make sure every kid learns. There's always those teachers that are they go above and beyond. And they take the onus on themselves to say, they're not being left behind. I'm going to find out what reaches this kid and how their brain works, what their learning style is. There's always been teachers like this. But as a whole, education has looked at those kids, and there's adults listening. You can relate to this because you were that kid that was left behind, and you felt like you were slow, like there was something wrong with you, and that you didn't measure up to the rest of the class. And we've got to change that in education, because there's also people listening that set them on a course of underperformance, of a lack of belief in themselves. So they wasted years not knowing that they had gifts and talents, and they struggled. And there are those listening who, when they found it, they're like, oh my gosh, I'm actually brilliant. I actually can do things. I actually can do things really well. I just learned differently. And they found their way. But there's so many adults who to this day struggle in life because they believe there's something wrong with them. They're slow.
They were given that label.
Yes.
And they carry it. But you know what, too, even as an employer, and I believe we do this pretty well, is you have to, I just sat in a meeting with a staff member. We were just asking, like, how do you learn? And you know what? explained to us, and it was like, oh, he doesn't learn, how he's being taught. So it's like to be able to step back and help those adults, and put them in an environment that's safe and they can kind of get rid of that label and thrive. It's fun.
So I was at a school board meeting this week, and it was so fascinating. So I showed a video. We were presenting to the school district that was looking at a contract with 5-Star, getting lots of kids involved with this program, and it all passed and it was great. But in the interim, while we're presenting and they're asking questions, it's like you're in Shark Tank. A school board member, we showed a video of what we do with innovative learning. 90 seconds, and these kids are blacksmithing, they're doing equine, they're doing agriculture, they're doing all these things. And then they're doing some fun stuff. They're shooting bows and arrows and hatchets and all this really cool stuff that weave into learning. And this board member, as soon as the video was over, he said, well, I mean, that looks like a lot of fun, but I mean, all I saw was kids basically at play, just frolicking around outside at camp, having a good time. What I want to know is, where's the learning? I didn't see any learning happening. And I literally looked at him like I'm looking at you right now, and I was perplexed. And I sat there in silence for probably 10 seconds because I'm trying to think about what do I say to someone who sees things so differently, right? Our perception is our reality.
Mm-hmm.
And I just said, sir, that's a good question. But we both watched the same video, and you saw no education, no learning, and all I saw was education and learning. And I said, did you see the first slide, the first video? It was a picture of a 5th grader, young black kid with braids, and he's got safety goggles on. He's holding a hammer, and he's got a piece of metal on an anvil that's red hot, that metal is, and he's hammering it, and there's sparks flying. He's got this adult coach next to him supervising, helping him hold that piece of metal safely. I said, so that's education. He's learning while doing. That's science. That's STEM. That's math. There's a lot of learning that's happening right there. And actually, it's tied to an actual physical skill that can serve him in life. And it's connecting the dots in his brain between something that he likes doing with his hands to learning. And I went through slide by slide through those things. And I said, so I don't know what to tell you, but my boys always say this. This is like a big quote that they bring up all the time. It's funny, but they say a hungry man thinks of bread. And ultimately, we see what we want to see.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever we have a hunger for, that's what we see. And there are unfortunately still people out there that they think the only way to learn, this is what I told the school board member, I said, the question here is not, are they learning? The question is, do you believe that kids can learn outside the 4 walls of a cinder block room? And that is the question, and to me, who's very progressive and just like, 1, I look at research. 2, I want to see it, not just quantitatively, but qualitatively. Like, can I see it? Does it work?
Mm-hmm.
And this is what teachers will tell you. This works. When you go and see, you can see they're learning. They're getting it.
Well, they're also the ones that go back into the classroom with them. And how many times have they told us the advancement in the classroom because they went outside the classroom to learn? And
that's what I told the school board member. I said, when we started this, teachers were in your seat. They were really challenging and pushing back that the principals and the superintendent wanted to do this because they have so much pressure, and even their pay structure is contingent on how kids learn.
Yeah.
And so they're saying, you're taking us out of the classroom. This is going to hurt us. It's going to hurt us badly. And I told them that, somehow there's been a full reversal, and every teacher
mm-hmm.
is bought in, and they say, somehow, some way, when you take them out of the classroom, these kids are learning way more through hands-on learning, and these principles and the knowledge base they get, actually, it boosts the learning they're doing back in the classroom. So it's good stuff. All right, we got to take a break. We'll come back with more after this. the 5-Star Life Parent app. Each lesson includes a short video and simple discussion prompts designed to help families reconnect and start talking again. Because when parents lead the conversation, kids grow stronger. Download the 5-Star Life Parent app today and start your first family conversation this week, transforming kids' lives by challenging the way they think, act, and lead. Welcome back to the 5-Star Life Show. I'm your host, Coach Seth, joined in studio with my co-host, Coach Mia.
Thank you.
And so you got to spend some time up at Summit today, watch the innovative learning take place. Talk a little bit about what you saw. I mean, because some people think it's going to be a classroom setting, or some people think it's going to be like kids just frolicking around, having a blast, like a field day. What all do you see? Or they think it's going to be like flawless and perfect and seamless.
Sure. Well, I saw it all, actually. There were kids in the nature classroom that were learning and sitting down and being taught a lesson. Then I was at the lake. There were kids getting ready to go on the boat. The kids that were in the classroom, they had just been in the boat. So I was asking them how that was, and they loved it. And I said, "What'd you learn?" And they're like, "Well, first of all, we learned to row." And you know what? That's an important skill because I can't row. I tried to do it once and I was like, that is really hard. So if I was stuck in the middle of the lake, I would die because I can't row
You'd be
back.
stranded out there.
I would be.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, just, you know what? And the kids, some of them were on the rock wall. They were in the greenhouse learning about plants. And I mean, we do it all. And then equine. I mean, I walked the whole campus. So you have every scenario you can think of if learning is happening.
Yeah. And it's interesting. And this is probably going to sound a little controversial to some people that are listening, but there's people that would say, well, so they're rowing a boat. What does that have to do with reading, writing, and arithmetic? And let me just ask everybody a question. How much do you need to use math right now? How important is math? A deep knowledge of math. How important is that? Now, that I know some people, the math teachers are going to be like, what are you saying?
You're right.
With AI, I mean, you can punch anything in there and get the answers you need. Again, I'm not saying we shouldn't teach math. Math is very important because if you don't have a foundation, you're very limited in what you can do in your career. So I'm not saying we shouldn't learn math. I tell kids this all the time, and I'm a big believer in this. Math is important, basic math. But reading and writing, those are the most important, those are the two most important skills in education and in human life. If you can read and you can write, if you can comprehend and you can communicate, you can do just about any job, just about anything. Besides the engineering, some of the science things, you have to have some specialization there. And so that's why I tell kids all the time, like, don't slack in English, don't slack in composition, don't slack in those areas. And the thing I love and that you saw out there is there's reading and writing tied into everything we do.
Right. And we should say there's a classroom portion
Yes.
to every skill that's being taught out there.
Right.
Yeah.
And again, critical thinking. But here's the other thing I want to say. Rowing a boat with a partner. With AI, the transferable skills and the universal skills are shifting. What people will need to thrive in the economy. And those skills are going to be tied to things like character, things like work ethic, things like emotional intelligence, being able to read the room and manage your own emotions and then communicate and work with others. And then social awareness, your ability to connect, relationship management. Those are going to be, we call them soft skills. I love what the Indiana Department of Education calls them, durable skills. They're durable skills that will be the foundation for how people get hired and stay hired and get promoted. And those are the things ultimately that most entrepreneurs have thrived in, right?
Right.
They can hire people to do the skilled stuff. They have the critical thinking. They have the emotional intelligence. They have the leadership stuff. It's just interesting to think about what education has been and what it's going to be.
Sure. And how exciting for us to be a part of something different.
Yes. Yeah, very exciting. So, okay, so people, if you're listening to this show and you're like 5-Star Life, How can I learn more? Go to our website, go to fivestarlife.org to learn more. We have so many different ways we're impacting kids, whether it's our Five Star Life basketball program, whether it's our Lift diversion program. So we work with several different counties and their detention centers and kids on probation, or also kids who are first-time offenders at diverting them from the next offense. And we have a 95% success rate there. And so we've got a lot going on. There's a lot of ways for people who are like, man, I want to make a difference in the community. I'm not sure how to do that. And we've got an opportunity for those of you who like, it's your favorite sport of the summer, and that's golf. And June 16th, I just talked to Aubrey, we have a couple slots, they're almost full, but we do this Five Star Life Golf Open. It's a lot of fun. We do it at Notre Dame at Warren, and it's an incredible day. So if you want to get involved and support the mission, go to fivestarlife.org, and you can check out, there's still some sponsorship opportunities. If you want to get your business's name out there, it's a great event to sponsor. And I guarantee it's going to be 75 and sunny, so it's going to be great. Besides the year we got rained out.
I'll leave that. Yeah.
So anyways, more about Five Star Life at the website. But I want to share a little bit about, we try to take time to share with our sponsors, our partners, and our parents what we teach kids. And this year it's been a really powerful theme, teaching kids how to thrive, right? How to grow and increase and vigorously mature. That's the definition of thrive. Mia, so many people and so many kids are in survival mode. So this theme of thriving is meant to help jolt kids to start thinking about life differently. We want them to think and imagine a life of thriving and not just stay in a cycle of just survival. And one of the domains that we talked about, we spent 7 lessons teaching, is how to thrive socially. Which again, we hear it all the time from parents, educators, and even our donors who hire people. Like that's one of the biggest struggles, is hiring people that know how to connect and get along.
Mm-hmm. And, I mean, how many kids did you hear parents say, or other parents about other kids, that, they can't look you in the eyes. They're on their phone all the time. They don't know how to, speak when you ask them a question.
So I'm going to share some tips, and here's one I'm going to share before I even get into the lesson.
Okay.
But for parents, one of the best ways that you can, it's low-hanging fruit, if you will do this to your kids, if you will make sure when your kids are with you that anywhere, if you're going into the grocery store, if you're walking into a mall or a church or wherever you are, just make sure if your kids are with you that they do not have access to technology. Keep it in the car, put it somewhere else. If you will just say no phones, we're going to be social, we're going to be aware. You have to tell them what you're doing. But here is my theory, and someday there's going to be data to support this. One of the reasons why kids do not know how to socialize is because of technology. You and I grew up in homes without technology, and so we had to sit there at the grocery store when our mom ran into their friend, and we had to listen to a boring conversation or look at our shoes. And so we watched, and our mirror neurons were watching the facial and body language. We were listening for cues. It was an audio video movie that we were taking in on how our mom or dad or uncle or brother or sister connect and what response they were getting. And so we learned from really good interactions they had. We learned from bad interactions we had, and we learned how to do life with them. And today those kids are far and few between because they can just scroll on a screen and think about all the things they're missing in terms of listening to their parents talk about careers and opportunities or works or struggles or whatever. Like we picked up so many things from those situations.
I know it hurts my heart. It really does, because I even see it with my grandkids, and I'm kind of guilty of it. Sometimes you're just like, oh my gosh, I just need 2 minutes, watch your phone, or watch your tablet. And it's wrong.
Yeah. I,
It's a confession.
when I was on spring break, we walk into this. It's our whole family walk into this restaurant, and my nephew had just proposed to his girlfriend, now fiance, and so we had this big table at this really cool restaurant. And it was in this beautiful setting. It was like on the ocean. It was picturesque. And it's a nice place. And I'm walking to our table, and I walk past the table, oceanside. I mean, this little family of 4 has this oceanside table, and it's mom, dad, brother, sister. Brother, sister have tablets, and they have headphones. And that was their dinner. These kids were staring at a screen next to the ocean with dinner on the table. And again, this sounds really judgmental because maybe, who knows their story, right? Who knows? Maybe the mom and dad really needed a dinner date and they didn't have a babysitter. And so they just said, hey, close your ears. That could happen.
Sure.
But as a rule, I'm just like, just please let that not be what you do.
No, and I think it's even worse when I go on a date with Jim and you look at other people on dates and they're both on their phone. I'm like, what is the purpose of this date?
Okay, this is not 5-Star Life judgment, but we probably sound judgmental, but I think everybody listening is like, I've been there, I've seen that.
Yeah, I hate it.
And I think the thing is, we talk about this in 5-Star all the time, but you have to make a pre-choice choice. We talk about that. We teach kids to make pre-choice choice. Pre-choice choice is before you're there, make a commitment of what you're going to do and what you're not going to do. And if you can start laying down some pre-choice choices, like, hey, we're not taking phones to the dinner table. We're not doing dinner in front of the TV unless there's a big game or something cool. Like, I get it. We all have movie night and have pizza and watch movies. I'm not talking about that. But if you can make some pre-choice choices that the habits you have will allow for kids to communicate and be off screen and be face to face, eyeball to eyeball, you will raise kids that can connect and read the social cues. I guarantee it, you will. If you don't, your kids will have confusion. They won't know how to read the signals. They won't know how to connect. They will feel awkward making friends because we haven't modeled or given them the environment to practice.
I think keyword there is model. As a parent, you can't be on your phone at dinner either, and it goes back to pre-choice choice.
Yeah.
As going on date night, I mean, Jim and I just talked about it. And you know what? Sometimes he's like, hey, I'm going to have to take this call. I'm like, but I get that.
It's, again, there's exceptions.
Mm-hmm.
You have a project due, you're waiting on a call, you have something you got to check, an email. That's life.
Mm-hmm.
It's the rule that we're talking about.
Sure.
Okay. So again, if this content is helpful, you're thinking of somebody that should tune into this, that this would be right up their alley. And again, because a lot of the stuff we talk about is really timely and helpful for parents to think about some of the habits, some of the choices, and some of the things that we're putting into the environment of our homes where our kids are being shaped. Go to 5starlife.org to learn more about that and to get involved. And listen, if you're an educator, you need to reach out to us and help bring us to your school district. We would love to expand if we're not currently serving your kids. Be back after this. At 5-Star Life, we talk a lot about the right tools. See, the hammer is the courage to be the best person you can be. The chisel is the respect you give and the respect you earn. The level, that's the integrity that keeps you balanced in a world that's always shifting. And the saw represents responsibility. It is what separates you from harmful actions and experience. It's the sacrifice it takes to work hard and be your best. Tools, when they're all used together, things are built. There's progress. But where there are no tools, there can be no progress. We give these important tools to kids every single day, and we couldn't do it without our partners like Global Link Distribution. Global Link supports this mission so that these values, courage, respect, integrity, responsibility, and sacrifice become the tools these amazing young people use to become great. Global Link Distribution is a leader and supplier to the RV, manufactured housing, cabinet shop, cargo, and horse trailer industries, but they're also a proud sponsor of this program to help 5-Star Life students thrive. It is our turn to see to it that our children have the tools that build greatness. Volunteer or donate today at 5starlife.org. Welcome back to the 5-Star Life Show. Coach Seth here, joined in studio with my co-host, Coach Mia. And let's dive into the lesson that we're teaching kids about how to thrive socially. There's so much dialogue on social media about how to make friends. And there's a big emphasis because kids and parents are screaming for content about, like, help my kids learn how to make friends. But there's not a ton of content about how to treat friends. How do you maintain friendships? There's a lot of like, hey, this is how you introduce yourself. This is how you break the ice. But how do you actually maintain friendships? And we're talking about a culture that is chronically lonely. Americans are we're one of the loneliest countries in the world. And it's very interesting because it's the third world tribal countries and some of the European nations that have families that still live together that actually are the healthiest when it comes to mental health and even longevity of life. So we in America have science, we've got money, we've got toys, we've got clothes, we've got entertainment. But what we don't have is connection. So it's something we all long for. And you cannot live a 5-star thriving life without checking that box or filling that void of connection. Because at the end of the day, our deepest desire is to be loved and accepted and to have a purpose and to live a fulfilled life. Right?
Right.
So we taught a lesson to kids about how to treat friendships. Now, I had the privilege of, in college, I met a group of guys. I was part of I got roped into going to a Bible study with a group of guys. And it became something that became more than just a little group. We formed these friendships that have lasted 30 years now. And we ended up naming ourselves after like a year. We called it Iron Men. And after a verse that says, as iron sharpens iron, so one person sharpens another. And ultimately, every one of us longs to be a part of a group, to be a part of a fraternity, a sorority, where we have people that love us, that believe in us, that support us, that make fun of us, where you can be yourself, where you're known. And it makes life so rich, where you feel supported. And there are some people listening that don't have those Iron Man type of friendships. And what we're teaching kids is 5 habits on how to create those types of friendships. And the first habit is you have to create a habit of being vulnerable, which is one of the scariest things in the world.
Sure. Very hard.
We all want connection, but we want others to be vulnerable. We don't want to be vulnerable first. And this does not mean we're encouraging kids to spill the beans to just random people, right? The challenge is taking off the mask, right? Can you take off the mask and be authentic and real with people that you think you've spent a little time, you recognize that this is a potential friend, they have good character, you connect, there's some chemistry, you have some shared interests, some shared values. Once you get to that point, you're then saying, okay, I need to be real with them and take this beyond just a surface acquaintance. And there's so many people that never get beyond the surface.
So what's the first step?
So I always tell kids, take it slow, little by little, right? So if it's something in class, it's just asking questions, but it's also sharing little by little. And I've got a little feedback here.
Yeah.
I'm gonna take these right off because I can't focus on that with that static. But I always tell kids, like, you have to be careful that you don't share too much too soon. So you start small. You start by sharing, when they say, how you doing? You start by, instead of saying, oh, I'm great. You say, it was a challenge there. Yeah, what happened? You tell them what happened. And you see how they hold that kind of light entry level authenticity and vulnerability. And you walk away from the conversation, you see, what do they do with that? When you talk to them the next time, do they bring it up? Hey, man, how you doing? You had that challenge last week. You okay? Hey, anything happen with that? Or you find out they went and they talked to somebody else about it. Oh yeah, I heard you're going through this. Who told you that? So-and-so. Or because you told nobody else. You know that, okay, so if I share with that person, they're going to go take it somewhere else. So now I've learned a little bit about that person. So I like them, but I have to be careful. So this is how you learn who people are.
And you're saying that this is from kindergarten to 12th grade?
Well, you know what? It's amazing how intuitive it is, actually. So kids actually, at a very young age, they know, and it's usually things like, they're mean to me, or they won't play with me, or they wouldn't share with me, right? At the youngest age, kindergarten, first grade, it's those things. And that's their whole world. That's the most important thing in their life at that point. Like, are they nice? Do they share? And will they play with me? Will they accept me?
Right.
Those are the major filters. So those kids, you want to teach them to learn from that. Yeah. Okay. So they're not playing nice. So what we're teaching those kids is share. Be nice. If you want to have friendships, you need to share. Even if you don't want to, you have to be nice to everybody, even if maybe they did something you didn't like, right? Those are the things we're teaching as a whole in our curriculum to that age group. But as they get older and they're getting some more, again, the brain, they can process some highly complex things like that person is safe. Right? By the time they get into fourth grade, they know, like, I can't trust that person.
Yeah.
So we're in this lesson talking about people that you have a sense that you can trust them with a little more. But vulnerability is the first piece.
Okay.
And when somebody takes that piece of information and they hold it and they don't blab it, but they also bring it back up. And by the way, this is a key to making great friendships. You have to be a person that doesn't just hear it and you're so busy hearing, like, instead of listening, you're thinking about what you want to say, you're thinking about what you want to tell them. So many kids become adults who never listen.
And there's that other, then you're the other one that no one listens to me.
Right.
Yeah.
So that simple skill of, like, vulnerability requires you to read the moment and know, is this a moment for me to share some vulnerability? Are they in a mindset to receive this right now or not? That takes some emotional intelligence to read, are they in that place? So you qualify if they're ready. But then when you share it, you go back and you say, or after you share it, you go back and you evaluate, how did they do with that? And you also look in the mirror and say, am I that type of friend that cares enough, that picks up on their body language? Do I know when somebody's not okay? And what do I do? What kind of a friend am I? Because we give away, there are signals, there are cues, there are tells when we are struggling. But most kids, well, most adults even, we don't know what to do with that. Is it my place to ask if it's okay? Is this too personal? What should I do with this? And so vulnerability is also saying, Mia, you okay? You okay today? Everything okay? Or, hey, I heard something, like, how you doing? That's being vulnerable. Approaching a person when you recognize something takes a lot of vulnerability yourself, because you're exposing that you recognize something, you can see maybe they're not okay. That's hard to do.
Yeah. Okay. So we're vulnerable.
Yep. So the second habit is you choose to be a person that makes your friends better, not worse. So your character, your attitude, your actions, you are doing things that makes them better, that encourages them to live a 5-star life. So the people that you're around, we ask the kids to think about this, but Are your friends better students? Are they better academically because of you or worse academically? Is their behavior in class better or worse? Is their relationship with their parents better or worse? Is their health better or worse? Is their self-esteem and self-image better or worse because of you?
Great questions. As adults, too, you need to ask yourself that.
So these are awesome questions because a lot of us as adults, and this is what we teach kids not to do, we talk about thriving, not surviving. So many kids, they don't choose friends, their friends choose them, or their environment chooses them. And they just kind of settle for whoever's in proximity. It's no way to build friendships. It's no way to live your life. Because, we talk about this a lot, but show me your friends and I'll show you your future. I was in a school yesterday. Me and Kevin were, and we talked about that. Actually, a kid brought that up. It's like the lesson on friendship, this whole idea of like picking better friends. I had a kid, a really cool kid. He just said, I chose the wrong, he said, I didn't choose friends, but I was around the wrong people. He said, and that lesson caused me to think about who I wanted to be around and people that were good influence. And my actions, my behaviors have shifted because I stopped surrounding myself with people that were bringing me down and caused me not to be the best version of myself. Said, so this year's been totally different as I made those changes.
What grade was that?
He was a 6th grader.
Wow.
Yeah. And I said, how does it feel to know that you were on a track that wasn't so good? And like you had the courage to say, I'm going to separate myself and just choose some people that are good. So it made me feel good. It made you feel empowered, right? He said, yeah, absolutely.
It's amazing in 6th grade that, kids can see that they're off track, and that, they need to pivot and change to be the person that they really want to be.
And how important is this lesson to learn it as a 6th grader or a 5th grader or a 10th grader? Because we both know how hard it is as adults. We see a lot of people in relationships that you can see how toxic it is, that they're stuck in a cycle and they have a hard time seeing it. But if they would ask themselves that question, does this person make me feel better or worse about myself? Does this person make me a better parent, a better mom, a better dad, a better brother, a better sister, a better employee? Am I better off financially because of them? Or are they making me worse? What a simple process to learn and a skill to have for making and keeping good friends. Simple.
It is simple. And I mean, it's a matter of people, do they really want to take that look? Because it's looking at yourself too.
And so let's pause there and because we have a commercial break. But the question I want people to think about the break is, why would someone choose not to look at those things and ask those questions? And I think part of it has to do with we're afraid of the answer, that we know we're out of alignment with who we really want to be and that these people don't fit. And we either fear rejecting them or fear being alone. And we're okay settling in survival instead of thriving. The 5-Star Life Parent app. Each lesson includes a short video and simple discussion prompts designed to help families reconnect and start talking again. Because when parents lead the conversation, kids grow stronger. Download the 5-Star Life Parent app today and start your first family conversation this week, transforming kids' lives by challenging the way they think, act, and lead. Okay, so we're having a fun conversation as we wrap up this show, talking about a lesson we taught kids from K through high school, different age-appropriate lessons and ways, but how to thrive socially and the 5 habits of long-lasting friendships. And we all want to have those long-lasting. It's pretty cool. We both have some long-lasting friendships. I look forward to June because we do a guys retreat in the summer, just with some of the friends that I've been close to for 30 years. You go once or twice a year away with your girlfriends, and there is nothing really like that. Like just the laughter. You can be yourself, and there's something so special about that support. And it's weird. And it's not like you talk to those people all the time, but they're there.
Mhm.
And whenever you see them, whenever you talk to them, it's like you don't skip a beat.
Yeah.
It's special.
Yeah, it's wonderful.
So, and of course, you need people in your life that are there through thick and thin and consistently in your life too. But the 5 habits. So we talked about, the first 2. The first one was to be vulnerable. The second one's to make sure that you make your friends better, not worse, and you choose people that make you better, not worse. And the third habit of long-lasting friendships is the habit of stabbing them in the front. That sounds violent, I know.
Yeah.
It sounds
Tell
really
us what that
bad.
means.
There's no blood involved. It's this whole idea, right, of, we're so accustomed in our culture to people stabbing you in the back, especially on social media. Some people are so fake, and they're great to your face, but then behind your back, they're posting stuff or saying things, and you always find out. But long-lasting friendships, if you want to have long-lasting friendships, you got to find people and be the friend that stabs people in the front. That means if you have an issue, you go right to their face and you address it and you talk to them and you handle it face to face. What that doesn't mean is you don't just walk away and abandon the relationship. It doesn't mean you talk behind their back. It doesn't mean you go garner up support to get them to change their behavior. You stab them in the front. And that is hard for people to do today because people have a hard time just being brutally honest.
Mhm.
And they have a hard time doing it in a way that isn't going to be offensive.
Sure. Okay. When you said that, I thought people can be brutally honest. It's just had the delivery of it.
Yeah, which we have a ton of lessons about how to communicate. And we have a whole series on talking about the nervous system and making sure when you communicate, when you step into the social arena, taking a quick moment to take stock of where you're at. Are you at a good place? Are you in this place of anxiety? Are you down low? Which version of you is going to step into the arena? Because that version of yourself may cause damage, may be a delight. So thinking about what version of yourself is there. And so before you go stab somebody in the front, you got to make sure you're in a good place. Going off on them, not a good idea.
Yeah.
You got to go collect yourself and take some deep breaths and process, and then come to them with some thoughtful ideas about, man, Mia, I appreciate our friendship. I value this. You want to talk to me? I want to talk to you about something with our friendship. Yeah. Okay. You have an open door. Now you just lay it out. When we did this, and this, and you said this, you did this, that was hard for me. I felt this way about that. And we teach kids to use I statements instead of you statements.
Mhm.
Instead of blaming, pointing the finger, and telling them what they need to do or what they did wrong, it's, man, I really felt this when we were doing that thing or when we were together. And it takes the defensiveness from the other person kind of out of the equation, because all I'm doing is expressing how it made me feel. And then you're giving them an opportunity to say, oh, wow, I didn't know that. Or, yeah, I did know that. I saw that. And it made me feel this way.
Mm-hmm.
And now you can start to talk through the root issues and get somewhere instead of just talking behind their back or blowing up the relationship and being accusatory.
And I believe once you start to practice that, is you don't even, then you as a person too, you start to see the things in you and you apologize before your friend has to come to you. You can start to just kind of be aware of, oh man, I didn't say that like I wanted to.
Which that's a key to long-term relationships. And you think about that's stabbing somebody in the front. Sometimes it's like saying, hey, I'm stabbing myself a little bit in the front, saying, man, I stabbed you a little bit. Like, I'm sorry. And sometimes we've done that to each other.
Sure.
Like, hey, I came in with this, and this. I was not trying to mean this, or this. I just was feeling it from the previous moment, whatever. And I am sorry. And there's times you said, yeah, I felt that, And there's times you said, I didn't think anything of it.
Right.
But I think that's the key to great and long-lasting relationships is you have that level of vulnerability and trust and empathy that we're going to be able to talk through things and come clean and be honest about it.
Yeah. So once we stab him in the front, then what?
Once we stab in the front, you then you need to hold them accountable, and you need to be held accountable. So when someone stabs you in the front, if all I do is get defensive and try to win the now and don't look in the mirror, and if I don't take accountability, I'm not going to be able to have long-lasting relationships, right?
Mhm.
And if the people in your life, if they can't take responsibility or be held accountable when they do, because we all have bad moments. I mean, we all have bad days, bad moments. And if we can't be honest about that, like, man, I'm really sorry. Yeah, I was mad. I said some things. I did some things, and I'm not proud of those at all. I'm sorry. That's taking accountability. We have no problem with people having a moment because we have moments. But if they double down, say, I don't know what you're talking about. I was fine. No, I didn't. No, I didn't mean it like that. No, there's something wrong with you. Then it plays mind games with us like, well, what's wrong with me? And we get unsettled.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're around people like that, that's a red flag that they have some issues that they aren't willing to be vulnerable with or be held accountable to. And it's going to be hard to have long-lasting friendships until they complete. Now, I'm not talking about 15 minutes. I'm talking about if they had a little time to process.
Sure.
Sometimes they might need a day, or a couple days.
Mm-hmm.
Give them that. It's interesting because there's a chain of thought out there that, don't let the sun go down on your anger. And some people think that's their cue to make sure I've got to go fix this right now. Well, it's talking about us personally. Don't carry that the next day. Doesn't mean you need to go fix it right now, because one of the best things you can do sometimes is sleep on it. Deal with you, but sleep on it. And wake up the next day refreshed with a new perspective, then go process a little more once you've both had some time.
I think people that don't like conflict, though, have a hard time of waiting. They do want to fix it. They want it over. They just, it's like, just do whatever, say whatever you need to say. I'm going to say whatever I say and get it over with.
Well, I'm definitely that. I'm not a conflict avoider at all, but I'm really the opposite. Like, if there's an issue, let's do it right now.
Yeah.
I'm a real time, like, let's solve this now.
Mm-hmm.
So it took me time to realize, like, that's not everybody's personality. And people aren't wrong if they need some time to process and some space to think before they can handle it. That's not wrong.
Mm-hmm.
We all process at different places. Now, what we do want is we want people to make sure they don't use this as a cop-out to never address the issue and just walk away and never come back to the table.
Bury their head and the problem under a rock.
Yeah. So again, these principles are so simple, but I know people listening, like, they're thinking about work situations. They're thinking about parenting and spouses and all kinds of intimate relationships where these things are factors. And if you can do these things, they are so powerful and they create a beautiful and a richness to the relationship. The last point is to be loyal. And loyalty is not covering for someone who is trampling on you or causing you to do something illegal or asking you to do something that is unethical. That's not loyalty. That's dumb, right? That's a lack of judgment on our part. That's a lack of discernment. We're not tuned into our senses if that's what we think loyalty is.
Sure.
Which that's exactly what right now, there's thousands, hundreds of thousands of kids across this country that are being groomed that way. They're being groomed for gangs. And they're teaching them that loyalty means you cover for my illegal activity. And we call that family. It's one of the most dysfunctional things happening in our society. And it's messing with young men's, in particular, their mindset about what real friendship is. So there's this real confusion about what family is and what a friend is. Because on one hand, they're providing food and shoes and protection. On the other hand, they're asking me to do things that are illegal that will ruin my life.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't have somebody to walk through that with you, you can see how kids, because some people are like, I don't know why these kids are in gangs. Well, I do. We all want to be loved and supported and connected. We all want a purpose. Well, that's what gangs do for kids in a very skewed and destructive way. So loyalty is when they do make a mistake and they receive accountability. They allow you to hold them accountable, and you don't walk away. You don't take what they did and go blab it and throw them under the bus and make them look bad, but you hang in there with them and say, this is my friend. This person, I'm with this person. We both got some boogers. We both got some stuff, but I am true to them. They're true to me. We're growing together. So it's weird because there's this fine line between performative and performance-based relationships. You have to judge their character. But then there's this sense of long-lasting friendships. You're with them through thick and thin, no matter what.
Mm-hmm.
As long as they're not manipulating you and using you and none of those other traits, which we've talked about before.
You know what? Kids are pretty loyal, I feel. But I've seen my share of adults, though, that aren't loyal and bail. And then as an adult, when you have a loyal friend, you're like, I mean, they're cherished.
Yeah.
You know, I think for me, like loyalty is if like I had a friend that was with another group of people and they said something about me, and that friend would be like, you're talking about Mia? Like, you don't know her. Like, why would you talk like that? Like, that is, I've seen that in practice, and that's a good friend.
It's a great friend.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what we all long for. That kind of support, that kind of connection. And it makes life rich. You can't even explain it, but it warms your heart and your mind. It grounds you.
Mm-hmm.
Makes life worth living. All right. What a fun show.
Yeah.
Hope this was helpful. If it was, do us a favor. If you're listening to this on YouTube or at Your Home TV, hit the subscribe button or the like button. If it's on a podcast, would you share it? That helps us so much. In the meantime, those who are listening on radio, thanks for tuning in. Listen next week. Catch us on one of our platforms and share it. If this is helpful, share it with a family member, a coworker, or a friend, and visit us at 5starlife.org. We'll see you next time.